Anyone who knows me knows how much I love my tea. We couldn't have a day up in the mountains without a good brew. I've come up in the Alps today to introduce episode 2 of the River Dreams series. I'm up amongst the snow gums, the granite boulders, and tiny rivulets of alpine water gathering and starting their journey downstream. But if you want to understand a river, you have to come to its birthplace. And for me on this journey, that was up in the snowy mountains. Mt Kosciuszko, the highest point in the land where snow and rain fall, and start their journey downstream to become the Murray. So this is where we start the journey, right at the river's birthplace, high in the snowy mountains. Dear friends, I'm at the very beginning of this journey, standing on the summit of Australia's highest mountain, Mt Kosciuszko. Somewhere out there, in the haze to the west, the River Murray slowly winds its way 2,000 river miles to the ocean. Here in the snowy mountains, it's late summer, and the brown grasses scrunch beneath my step. The low vegetation of alpine swamps and bogs is still saturated by snowmelt. A few snowdrifts, tinged with red algae, hang on in the shadowy flanks of the mountain. I'm surrounded by water, vegetation, stone, and we're all covered by a vast blue sky. Everywhere, water is beginning its long downward journey. It drips quietly from mosses, it pools into small rivulets, it whispers as it flows out of its first curve. It chuckles across a small bar of stones, their sharp edges already blunted by the work of water. It is becoming a river. It's late summer. This must be the very last of the snowdrifts. Just on the east side of Mt Kosciuszko, slowly melting in the late summer sun. The water will be draining down into the upper reaches of the Cowombat Creek, collecting in Lake Cowombat. That's where I'm heading for a bite of lunch this morning. Now I'm resting beside the highest pool of cool, still water in the country. It's good for a canoeist to think about where rivers begin. Everything we do is linked to those water molecules and the journey we share with them. Wavelets lap against the shore. From a beach of shattered rock, I pick up a small arrow-shaped stone. It's the length and thickness of my middle finger. Its crystals catch the sunlight. Silurian granite, third period of the Paleozoic, 400 million years old. It was already part of Gondwana when she broke away from the supercontinent of Pangaea and began her journey south. The Alps where I sit were formed around 100 million years ago. They're twice as old as the Himalayas. It was then that the river began its work of washing them away, grain by grain. Here on the rocky shore of Lake Cowombat, a post-glacial tarn that formed as the rock-grinding ice melted away 10,000 years ago, I look back up to the summit of Mt Kosciuszko. Cowombat at my feet. Kosciuszko up there forming a high horizon. It's always the names that reveal so much in this country. Aboriginal. Icy waters where the eagle swoops to drink. European. Paul Strzelecki, the Polish explorer, coming through here on his Snowy Mountains expedition, with MacArthur and Riley and 2 Aboriginal lads, Charlie, Tara and Jackie. In 1840 they summited the highest peak they could find, and Strzelecki named it after a national hero from his home country. Typical in this country of juxtapositions, the ancient whisper, Kudapatamba, alongside the strange syllables of the new, Kosciuszko. There's evidence of camps here in the high mountains. Different tribes came this way in the warmer months to trade and feast on bogong moths for thousands of years. The moths fly up to the mountains from the hot plains in summer and gather in cool crevices amongst the boulders. I imagine Charlie and Jackie's ancestors climbing up and up into the cool air, generation after generation, leaving the shimmering summer heat of the inland plains behind, just like the moths. That's where I'm headed, out there. I glance up to the ridgeline one last time. That's where the artist, Eugene von Gerard, stood, cradling a tiny sketchbook in the palm of one hand while he dashed off a sketch and scribbled some notes with the other. He'd joined Professor Niemeyer's survey expedition, 22 years after Strzelecki. No doubt he worked quickly as a storm approached from the northwest. I picture the large oil painting he completed in his studio. It hangs now in the National Gallery of Australia. Getting the light just right, inventing a field of boulders, capturing the professor's arms flung wide to embrace the sublime scene. Scenery always inspired by nature, but part invention as well. Later European settlers filled the plains and drove their cattle up here to fatten on summer grasses, an old trick they brought from the home country. The herds huddled amongst the trees during the snow showers, while the men built hasty shanty-like mountain huts, twisted snow gum rafters, wood slabs for walls, sheet iron roof, a fireplace to boil the billy. Barely enough to keep out the snow flurries, but enough. Gold panners also followed their dreams here. Some even made skis, another trick they brought from home. Great wide butterboards carved from alpine ash. Those early skiers started the tradition that many of us have followed years later. I've guided bushwalks up here in the snowy mountains with university groups across the summer, and I've skied and walked and climbed all over these ranges during summer and winter months. Walked out to the Jagungal wilderness, come back across the rolling grounds, skied up into the main range. We've had to keep skins on our skis to slow our descents across fields of boilerplate ice. And we've dug snow caves to shelter from blizzards. At Blue Lake, we've used our ice axe and ropes to climb the ice gullies, skirted beneath the cornices at the top of Blue Lake that have avalanched down out across the lake. It's an amazing landscape. It tests all your outdoor skills to the limit. That's the snowy mountains in summer and winter. It's a real place to cherish, a real place to come back to time and time again, to learn about yourself and learn about the mountains. Now it's early summer, and the sound of trickling water is everywhere. Perhaps no dream in this landscape has been bigger than the dream of taming the rivers and putting them to work. And here in these mountains, they dreamed big, at the very source of the mountain rivers. They called that dream the Snowy Mountains Hydro Scheme. It was a grand plan, to use the rivers to produce hydroelectricity and at the same time redirect water down the Murray River to promote settlement and enhance agricultural production. It's been said that, more than anything else, it gave us modern, multicultural Australia. Families left behind the blackened ashes of war in Europe to come and drill and blast and weld and pour. They dynamited the first rocks in 49. 100,000 came to work and live in the snow, dig the tunnels, build the dams. They sung the songs of their homelands, they danced and told stories. The work went on for years, shaping both landscape and culture. Finally, the stone, the snow gums, the waters I rest beside became a national park in 67. But they couldn't get the spelling right, Kosciuszko, for another 30 years. Now the gold seekers, the cattle, are gone. The drilling and tunnelling continues. It seems we never tire of trying to harness the great river's power. All these histories circling here, dream after dream, all gathering and heading down. It's the sound of running water that brings me back, inviting me to be still, be quiet, just be present. Then, after a while, remember. Pick up the little notebook and begin to scribble. I am simultaneously present and living in the past. The sound of wind over stone, of water lapping against the shore, takes me back, when you and I traversed the high ground together. The granite range submits to wind and sun and ice. A ragged range of tors splinter in the vice of freeze and thaw. Stone upon stone grinding becomes dust. Dust gets up and walks its way to the river, and the river carries its load to the sea. Stories break in the thin air. Parts of a conversation splinter in the wind. Word against word becomes dust. Dust gets up and walks its way to the river. But in this fracturing place, words and dust, water and bodies are gathering. Now we've walked this high stone country together, from Guthaga to the clump of gums beneath the rim of Headley Tarn, from there to the snowgrass fields of Merritt's Creek, and on to the old dreaming at Lake Cootapatamba. From the lake we climbed through the sun to Little Twynham, and there we were sheared through by the wind. Now that we've walked the stone country together, we circle and begin to speak, to join our broken words, to breathe a spirit poem in this place of stones. For it's genius loci that we seek, and its name is water falling. When we find a language there, it will be sheared through by the wind. It will drain over and into the earth. It will ride the long pulse of sun to the sea, and it will be the first song, the very first song, sung on this long journey. Now the river blunts its first stone, sings its first song, and the land begins to fill. I feel my skin begin to peel, unpuzzling, forgetting. I'm emptying and my headwater is a circle winding into a vortex. Accelerate, accelerate. Suck me down the hollowed-out tube the river is carving for itself. The ego dissolves, the body, osmotic, is everywhere. And all I'm hearing is the sound of water falling on stone over and again, and the echo of myself, my own body, ringing. The wind shifts. Clouds gather and thicken. The sound of running water amplifies. It's time to move. The storm approaches, rain slanting in from the west. It puddles on rocks, trickles, ripples and runs. I watch it begin to gather, follow it down, further down, until in the slanting light of late afternoon I tumble into my first camp by a narrow stream, and light a small fire to keep away the dark. In the morning, beside the stream, cradling a steaming cup of tea, I watch where falling water chuckles across a bar of orange, pink and brown stones. Their edges wave beneath the stream, dissolve, reform, where a silver sheen of river skin holds apart the words water and air. Then the river falls, rises to a crest and then a wave. In perfect stillness it repeats over and again, where it leads the ledge of stones from shore to a deep green pool. The wave curls upon itself a hollow and light rotates within, streaming orange, pink and brown, silver and green. Out of the mouth of the curling wave, the river sings a perfect chord, forever unwavering across the surface of the pool. Dear friends, the rippling river tumbles away and disappears noisily around a bend, and the great distance calls. Unlike a journey beginning at a railway station or airport, The threshold that must be crossed here is subtle, and the mind must prepare every bit as much as the body for the long journey ahead. With the river emerging out of the morning dimness, and the birds beginning their chatter, a question hovers, immaterial but real, over the water. What will the river be to this story? It's a riddle that I'll try to answer with a paddle, and it's a mystery I'll try to solve with a poem. So I slip a little notebook in my pocket, and I'll scribble my stories in it along the way. Fill the blank pages with chatter, visions and dreams, and try to arrange them into some sort of harmony. Add them to all those flowing in the current, my own story joining in the river's great song. So I climb gently aboard the old green canoe, balance and settle. I feel the canoe bucking in the eddy. I feel it longing for the current. I sense its hunger for the journey. So I lift the paddle and push off. Join me in episode 3, Across the Hume, where we paddle the upper river through the rolling foothills of the Great Dividing Range and must face the largest physical construction impeding the natural flow of the river, the Hume Dam.